I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, here on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is the Roundtable. I'm here tonight with Tom McAllister from New York City. Good evening, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Van.
All right, it's a pleasure. And only guys that work for Coca-Cola Company can walk tonight. We understand If you work for Pepsi, you may get fined. Okay, we can't.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Hey, before we get started, click that notification, click that little bell, give us that social media love, give us that retweet, give us that like. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's dive right into the roundtable. And hey, right now we're going to talk about the NFL team, the Washington
Wolves.
Okay. I actually put out a tweet to some of our Twitter followers a couple of days ago on some of the more popular names. The Hogs is out there, the Washington Hogs, and that's a personal favorite for me. But I doubt there's enough of us still around to do it.
Would that upset PETA?
Ooh, maybe. Oh, it's okay. They treat the Hogs well.
That's true.
Okay, all right. So then there's also the Washington Red Wolves is getting a lot of run. Okay, Redskins, Red Wolves. I guess they really want the color red in the thing. And then also the Washington Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good, kind of basketball-y, if you ask me.
I mean, it's also too, you get the WW.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the ones. The Washington Red Tails is what won our Twitter award by 39.1% went with them, 33.7% went with the Warriors, 18.5% with the Hogs, and 8.7% with other. And I tell you what, the other category had some really good ones in it.
I can imagine.
But they were good. All right. What's your take on them changing the name? Yes, no, indifferent? What?
I felt like I'm a little mixed on it. The reason why is because there has always been talk about how the Washington Redskins, it's not a complimentary name.
Right.
It's based off a almost racial slur. And, if they kind of did it by themselves a few years ago, I probably would have applauded more. But I feel
this was forced. This was not because the team is now woke or anything, which to me is
it was a business move.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it needs to be part of the process of what's going on right now with Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of things that need to change. These Confederate symbols that are being taken down. I applaud this. This is just one more of those things. I mean, at least Aunt Jemima was a real person. So.
Yeah, I think with we've come to the point where, they kind of previously, there were some rumblings or some conversations about removing the Confederate flag. There were some rumblings about changing the Redskins mascot. A lot of schools in New York State have changed their name from Indians to something else, which is kind of something, okay, you can kind of understand if the community's behind it. I'm totally understand it. You got to look at the Native Americans. When you look at the Native American population, their history in this country is not good, to say the least.
Oh, man.
To say the least. But it's also, too, when you look at people who make up the largest percentage of the populations of the United States military, it's Native Americans, which is kind of something you wouldn't think, and I think, I want to see what name they switch to. I do believe I read somewhere on Twitter where a Washington real estate person trademarked a lot of the probable names.
Correct. He did.
Which I think is a smart business move.
Oh, yeah. And he said he's not looking to cash in. Right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, not really.
Tom, I'm with you, but I kind of bring it down like this, and there's two sides to this coin. There isn't always two sides to every coin, but this one definitely has. And on one side, for the people that are in the movement, that are making racial change, that forced this move, well played. Well played. I mean, it needed to be done. You got it done. Well played. But on the flip side of the coin, if the Washington Redskins and Snyder think you're going to get any gratis from me for doing the right thing,
no.
no.
It was a money deal.
You were forced into it, and you went in kicking and screaming, and you're probably going to carp about it the rest of your life. I mean, it's low rent the way that they handled it. That's my take.
Yeah, I think it was more of a PR move, and I wonder how much influence Nike had. And I don't know if you're aware of this.
My understanding was the final straw.
What's that?
FedEx Field. They said, they called up and said, we don't think you ought to call it that anymore.
The sponsor.
Oh, whoa, yeah, okay. Well, did you know that we're going to change the name?
Yeah.
On the same phone call almost. So.
Yeah, shocking. Wow, sponsors have power in the NFL. That's a new one.
That was $80 million a year, some shit like that. I don't know what it is. It's huge. So it's like,
oh man, yeah, it's funny, but I think getting back to the NBA and social justice, they do have a lot of. You can personalize your NBA jersey unless you say "Free Hong Kong."
Yeah, unless you say that. Unless you,
yeah.
And of course, there's who's the ESPN personality that sent the
Woj.
Yeah, that sent the free Woj, man, free Woj.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he went all Seth Rogen on the governor of Mississippi, when he just said "F you," but he used his ESPN email account, and he said, "Oh crap, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that."
Mickey Mouse wasn't happy with that, and then you also have Deshaun Jackson, what he said.
Oh man, what's your take on that? All right, because to me, he goes down this train, and he's the perfect example of racism comes in all forms. Just because you're a black guy doesn't mean that you're not racist. Just because you're a brown guy doesn't mean you're not racist. He was using all the racist tropes. He was saying, well, hey, I've got Jewish friends. Wait a minute. Do you know how many times I've heard, oh, I've got black friends as a defense? I could not believe he went there, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's since, I think the Eagles, I believe, fined him. They couldn't release him.
Yeah.
I believe a Holocaust survivor has invited Deshaun Jackson to go to Auschwitz.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
And he's just doubled down. Deshaun Jackson just doubled down. And then Steven Jackson, the basketball player, is the one that tried to protect him. And, oh, man, defend him. And it just got bad. Got bad to worse, from worse to bad. Just a horrible thing. But, hey, moving on. Enough about that. We have real sports to talk about. Stuff that's happening on the field. Or is it off the field? Is it in Florida? And if it happened in Florida, it can't be good news, can it?
Well, I think the good news is there's one report that Deandre Baker and Quentin Dunbar were covering their face during this incident. No.
So that's good. They wore masks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they wore masks.
At the burglary, they wore masks?
Yeah, they wore masks. They might be the only people in Florida who did it, wear a mask. But with the Deandre Baker, Quentin Dunbar, we can call this Saga now. I think we're in like the third part of the trilogy. The first part of the trilogy was they were arrested. The second part of the trilogy was the witnesses changed their testimony. The third part is there's now evidence that the witnesses asked for money and were apparently given money to change their testimony, which
by somebody.
And it looks like Quentin Dunbar has new attorneys after this whole situation. Deandre Baker, no news really came out of his camp, but this is just not. This is like how to make a situation worse.
Let's
not like this is someone when like this whole situation is like, how stupid are you if this is true?
It's like listening to these guys. It's like listening to an old Cosby routine about the kid, about like, the giant noise in the living room and the parent calling out, okay, what was that noise? Nothing. Yeah. And I wasn't running. And that was nothing. Anything. And that was and nothing, bro. And the lamp was like, nothing. Mm-hmm. I was not running.
Yeah, this is one of the things where it's like, first off, one, don't commit armed robbery. Two.
Okay, there's one. There's one.
There's one. That's the moral of the story. Don't commit armed robbery.
In the middle of an epidemic, a pandemic, don't be out gambling. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, if you do commit a crime, do not offer via social media bribes to the people that recant their testimony, which is recanted, which is just like, it's almost like it's comical, and it's like, it's almost, you can't believe it's real because of the stupidity of what's going on.
Yeah, really. It is like that. But, if it happened in Florida, it can't be good news for your team, but it is going to be entertaining.
It is.
It is going to be entertaining. All right. But now let's actually get onto some sports news. And I view this as some really good news, because you talk to, Major League Baseball. Looks like maybe they're going to get stuff going, but then them and the union get hung up on these little details instead of just saying, look, that affects one person. Let them go. Just throw that out of the equation. Let's move on. They won't do that. Instead, they try and come back and leverage it. It's like Congress trying to pass a bill to pay veterans, and some guy holding it up because he wants a bill on something that has to do with ranches. It's like, what does one have to do with the other? Nothing. Well, that's just the way that we do politics, Yeah. And so the same thing is happening here in the NFL, with some players getting hung up on some things, holding up the whole process. In the meantime, there is the tournament. And it's working. Fill us in.
Yeah, the basketball tournament, which has occurred since 2014 over the summer, usually in July. It's a winner-take-all tournament where the winning team gets to split up this year $1 million. This was the prototype, I think, for the NBA season, because ESPN aired pretty much every game. They had all the players live in the bubble for about 10 or 12 days. And there were no major incidents that were reported. Right. I think some things that help out is it's a very short season. It's almost like 12 days where people are living there. So, and these aren't, these are professionals who played over in Europe. So that they might not be, the multimillionaires with $100 million contracts.
They're paying attention. Already NFL players have broke their bubble to go get food, this, that. It's just been a cluster. And then over here, these guys who are just, getting together, taking care of business. And wow, once you get the prima donna aspect out of what's going on, this thing seems to work, doesn't it?
Yeah. It shows a test like, we can have sports in the right setting, which is a big step forward, as the final is going on as we speak. They also have the Elam ending, where pretty much it needs to end on a basket, where at the 4-minute intermission, the team with the most points, they put a +8, and that's the target score. Whoever gets to that score wins. It's definitely a new element, which they tried in the All-Star game this past year in the NBA. So you got to wonder if that permeates basketball. But it's definitely something great at this time. It's high-quality basketball. If you follow college basketball, there's very familiar names. Joe Johnson, 7-time NBA All-Star.
Yeah, you said Marquette had like an alumni team.
Marquette had an alumni team. Ohio State had an alumni team. Syracuse has an alumni team, and they play a 2-3 zone. There's quite a few alumni teams. Marshall had an alumni team that surprised a lot of people. So, there's a team, Sideline Cancer, which is giving part of their proceeds to pancreatic.
I'm guessing cancer? Okay.
Yeah. So it is good too. And I just love the winner-take-all format. This is almost
that's
like
awesome.
It's like Kingpin comes alive.
Win or go home, man. Win or go home. Hey, Ricky Bobby put it best, man. If you ain't first, you're last. Okay. Yeah. There it is. All right. Well, I just think it's a great sports story, and it gives me some hope, because right now there are all sorts of institutions canceling sports. And I don't mean New Mexico Penal Colony. I mean, like, New Mexico
Wait.
State.
New Mexico Penal Colony canceled their season? Oh, my.
That's serious. That's serious, man. Yeah.
Wake me up in 2021, all right?
Thank you.
I thought the Rail Riders were going to win the conference this year.
It's and it's just. I tell you what, Vegas still is in an uproar. They don't know what they're going to be doing. Okay.
I can imagine.
No, there's colleges, et cetera, that are canceling their football season and maybe other seasons. They're saying, look, this is not going to work. Is this going to I can definitely understand it for a smaller school that doesn't have that much writing on it. To me, that's a no-brainer. For schools that have a lot writing on it to where they make a ton of money through this, they're going like, okay, we got to have it. But then you got to think, wait a minute, they're talking about having sports like with no audiences in attendance, X, Y, Z. You're not going to make money like you were making before. So canceling it to me seems very viable. On the other hand, if you're going to have a sport and you're going to get down and play it, a sport that feeds off of emotion, all right, which NFL team or which sports team, period, out of all the sports, the main professional teams, do you think will have an advantage a la, let's say if it had happened back in the 70s, the Saints would have had an advantage because they would have been used to going to games with no fans.
That's true. And I think in baseball, Tampa Bay Devil Rays or the Tampa Bay Rays would have that. Where it's basically they're used to playing in front of no fans.
Yeah.
It definitely does change the dynamic. I believe New England came forward and said they can have 20% of the stadium filled. And you got to wonder how much would those tickets cost?
Oh, yeah.
And usually when you go to a sporting event, you go to a sporting event with a group of people, and it's like,
hi, Bob.
So it is going to be interesting to see.
Flow is very important, and that's part of the 20%. They have to figure out how to make the flow. They don't want in a normal stadium. You've got people going back and forth. They want to obviate that. They want everybody to come in and flow one direction to try and cut down on the cross meeting of people, and also they want to try and do it as opposed to go getting your food. They want everything brought to you.
Some stadiums are already equipped with that, where you can just get an application and you don't have to stay there. And I think a lot of stadiums are already equipped for that.
It's pretty cool. You just hit peanuts and bam, hit you right in the back of the head. Yeah. It's good. Guy's got an arm. Guy's got an arm, man.
Just don't ask for a beer. You don't want to get that.
No.
No, but those are certain things where I think stadiums are equipped, and also they're businesses. And they got to be like, you know what, maybe, who's willing to go to these games? They might make a comparable amount of money to, if you're only giving out 20% of your tickets, how much are those tickets going to cost? That is the question.
Oh, yeah, and not only that, you think you have problems with the players, okay, and the agents? Where do you deal with this? You've got 20% of your tickets you're going to give away. What are your season ticket holders going to say?
I think each team is handling that differently because
of course, but I mean, if I'm a season ticket holder and you're saying I can't come to the game after I've been a season ticket holder for 25 years and you're going to give a ticket away to somebody who just comes up and buys one, screw you, I'm suing you.
I definitely think in this situation you got to wonder, because I know with season tickets, you usually sign up and you're given a number. And usually those numbers dictate who it is. So do you go to like the top 20%? Sometimes season tickets are put in people's wills.
Yes.
So you have to be like the smart
Denver Broncos, man. I mean, they are serious about that crap there. It used to be the Washington Redskins had that before Snyder, took over.
Yeah, where it's like, all right, let's see who are the people, like maybe go in order. And I would say the teams need to be transparent and communicate with their fans and be like, I think there were some people who were like, listen, do you want your season tickets or not? We don't know what's going on.
Well, let me ask you, Tom, if they're doing it right there, okay, and it's the Giants versus the Jets, so it's an all New Jersey game, okay? Are you going? You get a ticket. It's a free ticket because you're press, okay? Are you going?
I would go.
You would go.
I would go. I would, I definitely take precautions.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of something, when you look at New York and New
Would
Jersey,
you be nervous?
I would be cautious.
You're already thinking about it. So there you go. Boom.
Like,
You're thinking about it.
Whenever you're in a large crowd, you're going to be thinking, all right, does one of these get? Well, it also depends. Are they going to take everyone's temperature when they come in?
Okay. And I also think it's a big difference going to a game like up there in New York where, people are actually, trying, and you guys are really doing stuff. Whereas down in Florida, man, you've got people that won't even wear a mask, down there, I don't think I would go.
Oh, absolutely not. I really think if you're Florida or Texas, for the love of God, just wear a mask. That's all we're asking you to do.
Please. Yes.
Just wear a mask. I know 5 people who got COVID.
Look, if you want to make a statement, just get, a picture of a finger and put it on the mask. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what you're saying.
There's a lot of other things too. I might be partial to, but I'll save that for another podcast. But just, wear your mask. We want to get back to normal. All these other countries are opening up and we can have fans in the crowds. Wash your hands, wear a mask. If you don't need to go out, don't go out. You can get most things delivered to your house. There's this thing called Amazon.
It's amazing.
You can get.
By the way, that Amazon is a company you can order things from. That's not your sister. Okay, that's a different thing altogether. The last thing I'm going to hit with, I put up a tweet a while back, and I've said all along that I didn't think that Dak and the Cowboys were going to be able to come to a deal this season. I just didn't think it was going to happen. I put out the poll, and most people, over 50%, said that they were going to sign a long-term deal. I said he's going to follow the Kirk Cousins route, and it's going to be 2 tags, and he's gone.
I think the way the Cowboys are going, last year was their way to make the deal, but they were they wanted to keep the triplets together of Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott. Now it looks like, the quarterback market totally blew up when you had, Patrick Mahomes get a massive deal. I don't think Prescott will ask for that much money.
But also that a lot of people don't realize this. The Cowboys have backed themselves into a corner, and here's why, okay? Right now, and this is what was happening last year. Okay, all he does, he goes down look, I want guaranteed money. And they're going oh, well, we'll give you, so much guaranteed money. He's going wait a minute. I'm getting 20-something, almost 30 million this season in 2020 guaranteed because you're going to tag me. Then you're going to tag me again. That's going to be almost 40 million. So there's 70 million guaranteed right there. Then unless we start there, it's stupid for me to sign anything that doesn't start at 70 million guaranteed because I'm getting that.
I totally agree with that. And you got to wonder too, next year in 2021, there could be some potential more interesting QB options where if you got Cam Newton could be coming out of New England, you could have Jameis Winston coming out of New Orleans under Sean Payton's tutelage. And if you're Dak Prescott, you're looking around wait a minute, there's going to be a lot more competition. Would Dak Prescott go to New England? That's something that could potentially happen.
He could go lots of places. Once he becomes too expensive for the Cowboys because of the Kirk Cousins effect, that is why the franchise has the plus 20% thing on there for the first year, plus 40% or something like that. I mean, it gets ridiculous on purpose so that the team can't just keep tagging him. And so they had the opportunity a couple years ago to go ahead and extend it. They chose not to because they weren't sure. Prescott's numbers are there, and he gets better every season. I don't think there's any problem with Dak Prescott. And, people say, oh, well, you can get a better quarterback elsewhere. Yeah, okay.
They can get a quarterback for cheaper.
Yeah, where?
And if you're looking at the Cowboys too,
where are they going to get a better quarterback for cheaper?
I said not better, but cheaper.
Yeah, they can get a cheaper quarterback. Absolutely. Not a better one.
They
did. They went out and got a cheaper quarterback.
Yeah. And I think that's something to take into account. If you're Jerry Jones, who has maybe falls in love with players and might let his emotions override his brain, and he'll kind of keep players maybe a little bit too long, and maybe he learned from that situation. And maybe if you have a franchise quarterback, it's like, okay, do I give this person all this money and sacrifice in other areas, or do I build up a team around the quarterback, kind of like what Seattle did with Russell Wilson for at least most of the time?
Well, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, Jones has got the magic touch. He can always go out and find another Quincy Dunbar or something like that.
That's true.
So, I mean,
or Drew Henson.
He's got Drew Henson. He can whip that out of his back pocket.
I think Drew Henson's still under contract.
Yeah, exactly. And he had nothing to do with Romo walking onto the field. That was like, UDFA. That Jones had nothing to do with that. So, I mean, Jones has zero ability to pick a QB. None. I mean, he was all in on Johnny Manziel. He still is.
Yeah. I mean, you got to wonder, though, too. But Jerry Jones, he has to make the headline-stealing pick. Jerry Jones needs to win the press conference.
Right.
That's what he's all about. He wants that sizzle.
But what I think the worst thing that could have happened to Jerry Jones did happen to Jerry Jones. In his first NFL draft as the GM, all right, once Jimmy, the guy who had built the team, left, okay. In the second round, he drafted Larry Allen.
Yeah.
And so after you do that, you're going to be swinging for the fences every year.
Yep.
Because, I mean, he drafted what is arguably one of the best offensive linemen in the history of the NFL.
And I also think, too, he actually opened up because Randy Moss, he fell in the NFL draft because of character issues. And he's like, you know what? That's the last time I'm going to let that happen.
Yeah. And then Randy Gregory and then all right.
Where Randy Moss's issues in the 1990s are nowhere near as prevalent as these other issues.
No. But, it's fun. It's fun. There's a lot of talent on the Dallas Cowboys. I got to give Jerry Jones talent for that. For a lot of years, he was all sizzle and no steak. Now he's got the steak on the team. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. But he just isn't the guy, I think, that has the leadership ability to build a championship quality team. I think if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, you're just going to have to get used to living with disappointment.
I guess so, which I think, it's been, almost 30 years since the last time.
It's coming up, man. It's coming up. All right.
I think that's the curse for the Cowboys is when Jerry Jones took over, they won 3 out of 4. So Jerry Jones probably is like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I don't need any. Like sometimes success is a curse.
He made
the
statement. Anybody could win with this team. And he went out and proved it because he got one of the worst coaches in the history of the NFL and won a Super Bowl with it.
Yep.
Barry Switzer. So
what could have been.
Oh, man. All right. Well, look, there it is. That's it for the Roundtable today. We covered it all. Successful sports, idiotic sports. Yes, that was Florida. Okay. And everything in between. It's always a pleasure. Tom McAllister, you can find him on Twitter at defense_com. That's defense_com. Tom, always a pleasure, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Van Over. It is a pleasure. And before you go, if you haven't yet, hit that notification, hit that subscribe, do all those wonderful social media things. We certainly appreciate it. And until next time, listen like you play with intensity.